Welcome to the Fierce and Fit Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Clarice Yao, a holistic health coach dedicated to helping women over 40 achieve their fittest, fiercest selves. Each week, we'll dive deep into the unique challenges of menopause, including belly fat, weight gain, muscle building, hormonal imbalances, and more. These episodes are recorded live from my free Facebook group, Fierce Women Sculpting Powerful Bodies and Champion Mindsets. Be sure to check the link in the show notes to join our incredible community and access free content, challenges, and resources designed just for you. So this is achieving lifestyle fitness as you age. And actually this topic was inspired more when, I was traveling, and a lot of people asked me the question like, how do you still stay fit? How do you still eat well and, maintain that healthy physique, right? So this is really more of, I would say, less of a sciencey live. I mean, I'm still going to go into some science, but some lives I go into insulin and full hormones and all of this. The more today will be a little bit more practical and sharing just some of my own personal experiences, because I live this life now as an ex-competitor and traveling and doing things where I enjoy my passion, but still learning to stay healthy and fit. So let me ask all of you who are with me, how many of you are actually want lifestyle fitness, put lifestyle fitness below, or maybe you might be a competitor, which is also a different ball game. So this is the Fierce Women community where we sculpt powerful bodies and champion mindsets. This group is for women over 40 who is going through perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. Okay. This group is to provide you an optimal space to feel safe to express your menopausal concerns like belly fat, like gaining weight, like slow metabolism, and to give you the resources and help. We have over about 20 free resources in this group. You just kind of need to know what to ask or find the post with where we say it's the free resource. And we have over 190 free lives. This one is the 190th free live. And I want to send a big congratulations to Armenia Gast, who is possibly going to do the BioRevive system. We are not doing the large uptake anymore. That's closed. But if people are still requesting to want to join the BioRevive, you can. So Armenia is going to join. I think she's going to start within a few days here and want to do it over the holidays. So if you want to learn more about the BioRevive system, you can. And give her lots of hearts. And then also Lauren Cook. Give her lots of heart. She just joined the Modified Transformation Program. And I say modified because she's looking for both workout and nutrition, but because Lauren is actually doing my BioRevive system. So she actually, got a modified program in the transformation program. So super proud of her. I told her she is not a procrastinator. She's not waiting for January 1st to make things happen. So super proud of you. Give you lots of hearts. Excited for you as you continue forward. So lifestyle fitness. Let's talk a little bit about this, right? So what is lifestyle fitness? Lifestyle fitness is basically a state of living where you are not actively competing in a competition, whether bodybuilding or maybe as an athlete in another sport. Sports-specific competition and bodybuilding is a whole different ballgame. Now, I know Rena, my client in Muscle Accelerator, wants to compete next year. And she and I have already talked what there's going to be a different way of approaching it. So majority of women I coach are lifestyle people. But if you're looking to compete, that is an entire different ball game, and that this live is not totally for you. Okay. We are going to talk, in general covering these topics, but I'm not going to separate it in this way. But we're going to talk about how lifestyle fitness is going to help how you can optimize your hormones. You can keep belly fat at bay, maintain a healthier relationship with food, build more sculpted muscles, increase your strength and stamina, and maintain a healthy, calm mindset to continue to live the life that you enjoy with family, holidays, travel, that type of thing. Okay. So let's first talk a little bit about optimizing hormones from a nutrition standpoint. Okay. So I saw this the other day where they said when you are young, your body is run more by hormones. And when you're older, your body is run by the foods you eat. Okay, so I'll say that again. When you're young, your body is run by hormones, but when you're older, your body is run by more the foods you eat. So what that means is that's why when you're younger, you can eat anything you want, but your hormones just like churn out and metabolism is going. But as you age, everything matters now what you put in your body, right? And those of you who follow me for a long time know that this is the key. If you really want a nice physique, you want to look good, you want to have like great muscle tone, you need to focus on nutrition. Okay. That is 70% of your results. Okay. I know most of you may know that, but you may know it, but you may not apply it. Okay. So we're going to go through a few elements. Like I said, today I'm not going to be super sciencey, more like practical. Okay. Practical and advice and things that I apply in my own life. So the first thing in the nutrition department is managing inflammation. Okay. So I always talk about this, but inflammation is the biggest problem for menopausal women. Okay. Is like having a lot high levels of inflammation, and your body is unable to get rid of inflammation in your body as you age. It loses its ability. Why? Why do you lose the ability to deal with inflammation? So a few of you who followed me for a long time, you can answer that below. The key is your estrogen is dropping, and your estrogen is your inflammation protector. So now that if you're in perimenopause and you are going into menopause, as I was speaking to, I think one of my calls, is that you're losing the protection, and then more and more inflammation, like you can call them enemies, are coming through the barrier, basically, right? So this dealing with inflammation, it should be your top priority as a menopausal woman, perimenopause, or even postmenopause. Okay. So in order to kind of work with this, even if you're not competing or you're traveling or whatever thing you're doing with your family, is you need to have a good knowledge base of inflammation markers. Okay. You need to know what inflames your body, what causes your body to have digestive disturbances. And you have to learn to control the inflammation so you can control cortisol. Okay. So inflammation often leads to the cortisol spike. And that's why the inflammation / cortisol kind of like combination is the fastest way you will gain belly fat. So the combination of inflammation markers and the interaction of cortisol creates a high level of like stress in your body, and therefore it will deposit more fat deposit into your belly. Right? So it's like that situation is what you need to control. And a lot of people, you can travel, you can do stuff, but you need to know how to control this. So, I'll give you some examples, but those of you who've done my 21-day anti-inflammation course or who are personally coached by me, there's a lot of things I usually point out in your food, or a circle or a highlight, or say things about it. Like, for example, Hope, I just met with, we were going through her food, and I was saying like these things you need to be careful of. Examples would be like being careful about sugar, alcohols, right? Or food coloring and dyes and wheat-based products, as a few examples. Okay. Now, I read something recently that was very true, and I want you to keep in mind this. Sometimes it isn't the wheat that is the problem. It is how it is farmed. The real problem behind wheat, just to give you some idea about inflammation markers and how to work with them, is glyphosate, which is the most common, pesticide used to control mold and things like that within wheat. So if you are not careful about these types of things, glyphosate is highly, highly poisonous to your system. In small amounts, it won't kill you, so they will allow it into the food. But if your body has no protection, do you remember I talked about the protection? If it has no protection to help you as estrogen is declining and more of these particles are coming through, you need to be very careful. So this is why when you travel or when you are holiday season, you need to be kind of really aware. It's not that you can't enjoy some fun foods. You just have to be extremely aware of, okay, I know what these things are that I need to be aware of to avoid inflammation. And you can potentially look for glyphosate-free flour, but it's also being aware of like, there's just a lot of things. That's just an example I'm giving you. There's other things I can tell you that, like, in a lot of health products, they, like, again, like the sugar alcohols or things, they will say is the alternative is not healthy when you study into it, right? So the more that you understand inflammation markers, the better, the healthier your body is. And inflammation causes your body to puff up. All of my clients who have been with me for a long time, you guys know how puffy you guys were before, or you look at your pictures or your back, and puffiness, you don't get to see muscles. You want to see like really great tone muscles, you need to not be puffy. You need to not be inflamed. And so that is why I would say your knowledge of inflammation is very crucial, because if you don't know and you're traveling or you're going to a party or you're enjoying things with your family, you're basically walking in blind, right? So the key is understanding inflammation, and then through that, you're controlling cortisol. Now, cortisol has to be controlled through other ways, but that's one of the most important things to understand. And there's more, and you guys might know about like different oils and different things like that, but the list goes on for quite a while, and you need to be just aware wherever you go. Okay. So if you are not fully aware of what kinds of things are inflammatory, I want you to put inflammation below to, indicate you want to learn more about inflammation. Okay. This is pretty much the number one thing. Also, in regards to this, did you know that as you age, almost all age-related diseases are connected and because of inflammation? So if you struggle with a disease, if you've had any type of disease things, most of it comes down to the root issue of inflammation. Okay. So put inflammation below if you really want to learn more. Now, the next thing I do want to address, still on the topic of nutrition and lifestyle fitness, is outside of controlling inflammation, is you also need to know how to control insulin. Okay. So this is extremely important, because inflammation is one for sure, like top, what I would say as women age. The next thing is insulin. So what do I mean by this, right? Insulin, we know, is a hormone, and it's a hormone that is secreted when you eat carbs, okay? And anything that will eventually turn into sugar. So notice I said you need to know how to control it. I didn't say you can never enjoy a treat. And in fact, I didn't say you can't eat carbs. You actually do need carbs. But controlling insulin is understanding how to make sure we don't cause massive spikes of insulin, which is massive spikes of, like, when your body releases that with huge amounts of carbs and sugar, and how to modulate it so that you don't have big ups, big downs, big ups and big downs. Okay. These big ups and downs and a lot of instability in insulin production is another massive cause for belly fat and a massive cause for a lot of hormonal problems. Okay. If insulin is not actually controlled properly, you will see it affecting things like your thyroid. What is the thyroid responsible for? Your thyroid is responsible for your metabolism. So we have to learn to also control how much is that insulin being spiked, being released, and all of that. So if you're like, okay, well then how do I make sure of this? So the key is, of course, making sure we understand what kinds of healthy carbs we should be eating, right? What kinds of longer lasting carbs we want in our system. We want to ideally have less fast acting sugar. Okay. This is one of the most crucial things as you age and wherever you travel. Again, top of my mind is like controlling insulin, right? Like making sure, an example would be not drinking a completely sugary drink. Okay. So when you go to a lot of these countries, Asia, or even like, in Mexico. Yeah, they have good drinks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about alcohol because I don't drink alcohol, but I'm just talking about regular drinks. And I'm always asking what's in it, what's in it, what's in it, right? And there's I'm sure some of you who are Spanish know this. There's like this rice drink that they have, and it's completely filled with sugar. I mean, hey, it tastes good, but it ain't something you want in your system, you know? So it's like being careful, because you could be like traveling, going to an event, going to parties, and we're not really aware. We're like, oh, we're just going to have this drink, you know, this like non-alcoholic beverage. There's a lot of those non-alcoholic, what do they call it? Like mocktails and things like that. So you feel you're doing yourself a favor by not actually drinking alcohol, but you're actually doing yourself a disservice because you're drinking a lot of sugar into your system. And this is just as an example, because I know as the holiday approaches, as I was traveling, people will be like, oh yeah, like this is not alcoholic. I can recommend this to you, right? So it's just being aware, like we want to control how much sugar enters our body, but we also need to be aware of carbs and what are healthy carbs for our system, because the better you can control your insulin, the better you are in control of your body composition, how your body looks. Okay. So number one was controlling your inflammation. Number two is controlling your insulin. So if you are someone who doesn't really understand like the differences in different types of carbs and different classes of carbs and what that looks like, and you want to understand better insulin response, I want you to put insulin below. Okay. So put insulin below, and even being very careful about fruits, right? So traveling down to tropical places and things like that, a lot of high sugar fruits and things like that. So we want to be very careful about that. So put insulin below if you want to understand and learn better how to control insulin. Okay, the third thing is still on the topic of nutrition, but again on lifestyle fitness, okay? So the third thing you want to consider is adaptogens. Now, adaptogens are actually extremely important, and the adaptogens are herbs that help regulate your body's hormonal response, in particular, usually cortisol. As you age as a woman, you have to really prioritize controlling that cortisol. Again, why? Because estrogen has dropped and cortisol rises, and a lot of other things that causes cortisol to be like the main proponent in your body, right? So any herbs that can actually help better regulate your cortisol is very important, and is like you could call it a bit of a trick, maybe just like when you know, like, hey, my body does not regulate cortisol well as I age, so I want to stay leaner, I want to be healthier, then you want to make sure you're kind of taking some of these herbs. So examples that, for example, I recommended to Shenika, she's in my program, is like rhodiola. Rhodiola is an excellent, adaptogen. So what does that mean? So when you take it, if your cortisol is too high, it helps to lower it. If it is too low, like you're low energy, you have no energy, you get out of bed and you have no energy, you're aching when you get out of bed, which could mean potentially too low cortisol. And so then the rhodiola will help you raise it up, right? So that will be one. And if you want the recommendation I gave Shenika, you can put rhodiola below. There's other ones like holy basil, ashwagandha, evening primroses. These adaptogens all help your body function better. So and again, I'm talking about lifestyle fitness, which I presume some of you will be traveling to Australia, to different places, you're doing things with family. You want to kind of have that little extra up your bag to be able to control the hormonal response as much as possible. So again, if you want recommendations or whatnot, then you can put adaptogens below to help yourself. Yes, I take myself, I like rhodiola a lot. It's just been something I've used for a while, and I really think it's a great herb, like just a natural herb that helps you regulate everything. So you can put adaptogens if you want to learn more about that. Next thing on nutrition to help you with more lifestyle fitness. And this one's not new. If you've been with me a long time, you'll know I speak about this. Okay. So the thing is, when you're traveling, you still need to be very aware of healthy balance of macros. Okay. So balance of macronutrients is
going to be important no matter where you go. I don't care if you go to a party. I don't care if you travel to Mexico or you travel wherever, to Spain or wherever you're going in the world. You need to be aware of protein, carbs, and fat. So what do I mean by this is whenever you're eating, you need to make sure that your meals almost always has some elements of protein, almost always has some elements of carbs. But again, remember what I said above. You have to know the right types of carbs, okay? I'm not saying carbs like sugar. It's other kinds of carbs. But anyway, so carbs, right? And does it have healthy fats? So that is always what's going through my mind. So as an example, when I was traveling to Mexico these last 2 weeks, every meal I had, I was considering these things as I ordered, as I sat down, and as I, wanted to understand what's in the meal. So the balance of what is there is very crucial. Why? So why is the balance of the macronutrients extremely important? Is that the better balance your macronutrients, the better you're controlling insulin response. Okay, so which builds on what I said above, right? If you understand how to balance your macros properly, then the insulin is going to be controlled because with the presence of other nutrients. So you want to make sure every meal has protein, carbs, and fat. And you want to consider always when you are out eating things or buying things or whatever you're doing, more lifestyle, maybe you didn't prep your food because obviously as a competitor, you usually will prep all your food. Now, I still teach that as a philosophy for all my clients is prepping food is your best bet. But you and I know, again, if you travel, it's almost impossible to always be carrying a container of food, right? So it's that your mind has to be aware of, okay, when I sit down, what kind of protein is in this food? And is this a healthy protein? And does it get absorbed by my system well, right? So you want to consider good bioavailable proteins. And, things like, for example, is it better to eat a steak or a fish? Of course, the answer to that is probably fish. It's like you can make those choices of what is better. And then as well as being aware of what they put in or on the food. Okay. So I'm always thinking about this. So I always ask, what's the sauce? What's this? Or I don't want sauce, or this is on the side, because all of that adds up to a lot of extra, not only calories, but because I'm particularly very concerned about inflammation. So even when I travel, I'm always looking to control that inflammation in the body. So being very aware of that. And also, does it have healthy fats, or what do they use to cook it in what type of oil or things like that? Again, the better knowledgeable you are about macros and the way you think about it, the better that you are going to keep your body composition. So let's just say you work so hard, you train, you have nice muscles, you have great physique. When you travel or when you do lifestyle things with your family, the last thing you want to do is go out and then eat things that completely destroy your gut microbiome or take inflammation to the next level. So that's why you have to be particularly cautious of this. Okay. Now, macros and macro percentages. So one thing I will say about this is in terms of lifestyle fitness, okay, as long as you understand kind of the macro balance realm, you should be okay in a general sense. The more specific you want to see your muscle, then the more specific you must become with your macro percentages. Okay. I was saying to one of my other clients that the percentages of percentage grams of protein and this gram of fats and this grams of carbs is the magic key to body composition, meaning the leaner you want to get and the more muscle you want, the more specific you need to get to your numbers in your macronutrients, right? Percentages of macros depends on your goal. Okay. So again, if you are generally, again, just like Lifestyle fitness, you can get away without doing percentages. However, like if you are wanting more and more specific, then that's where you want to learn more specific macros. So Kamiko, as an example, because she's been with us a long time, it depends on her goal. Like she's quite lean already, but it depends on like how much more muscle she wants to build or how much leaner she wants to go, because she says she wants to look like a competitor. Then you don't have to compete, but you still should do your percentages of macro in order to get a more precise physique. Okay. So if you are listening and you're like, I want to learn more about macros or I want more precise physique, you either put macros or put precise physique. Precise physique requires a little bit more specific numbers. Okay. So macros or precise physique. Okay. So another element, so the next thing I'm going to talk about for nutrition, for lifestyle fitness is fiber. And again, not new for anybody who's been following me, but as a menopausal woman, you need to be particularly conscious of what fiber and having a lot of greens, a lot of leafy greens, because fiber is very important for estrogen. Okay. And for estrogen recycling, and how the estrogen operates in your body and the way it runs, the way food and microbiome is kind of goes through your digestive gut, right? Because your gut actually has a lot of estrogen receptors and fiber is a key component of it. So when you're traveling, sometimes we can easily forget. So for example, when I was traveling, I noticed like certain things when you order some special dish or things like that. And sometimes they don't really give you like a lot of fiber, right? Like it's like 2 asparagus. who has been at restaurants, you're like, this seems like a massively imbalanced macro meal, And I'm like, 2 asparagus is not a whole lot of fiber. And so this is what I mean is like, when you're aware of what you need, you look for those things as you live your life, right? And so it's like, okay, you need to make sure you have between 28 to 35 grams of fiber per day. So as a woman, when you're traveling, when you're doing things, you should always be thinking about how do I optimize this particular area of health and wellness for myself, right? Most women get about 15 grams of fiber. So if you actually track, almost guarantee you're probably only eating about 15 grams of fiber. And so you need to make sure you increase that. Okay. Now, so those are some of the main elements. When you are busy during holidays or doing family things, or you go to Disney World or different things like that, a lifestyle fitness is that you have proper backups with you. Okay. Proper backups is something I teach a lot of my clients when they are traveling. And although I am not a fan of too many shakes, those of you who follow me know this, it is very helpful to have on hand non-inflammatory shake and some non-inflammatory snacks and foods. So again, when I was in Mexico, like I brought with me my non-inflammatory protein shake, and there's certain things that I say it has to pass my inflammatory tests. You guys know that. And in order for it to be qualified as a non-inflammatory, like proper shake you can take. Okay. So I had it in Mexico because I knew I wasn't always going to have the food and quality of food of what I want. So at the very least, I have that as a backup, or I had that as a shake. And then I have a different backup bars or things like that where I will have it with me, and I bring a handful of those with me. And on this particular trip, I did use it. I did use those bars because I didn't always have access to food. And, a lot of the foods have tons and tons of sauces. So again, if you're like, well, what are healthy options and snacks? That is where you need to learn inflammatory reading, right? You need to know what to read for. But if you want the recommendation of the shake that I use, then you can put the protein shake below, and we can send you what I use. And I would say also another thing to consider is the better you understand the topic above, which is macro combinations. Okay. So macro combinations mean that if you had a non-inflammatory snack or some sort of backup, you understand what is the component of protein, carbs, and fat in that bar, because and you are taught that. And then you add to it. So example is sometimes some of the healthier bars has no inflammatory markers, but it's a little bit high in carbs. So I'm very aware of where I need to balance the fats and the protein within that on my trip, if that makes sense. So like I will look, okay, if I have this particular snack, I can't just have it by itself because now it's actually imbalancing my macros. So I need to now think, what will I match it with? So I make sure that my macros are balanced. So it's going back to the macro balance, if that makes sense. But I have healthy snacks as backup because I just never want my body to go into like massive amounts of like hunger, right? I'm always keeping my insulin stable, right? Just like I talked about above, I'm never completely super hungry. I'm not out all day and just so hungry. I'm always keeping my insulin very, very stable. Okay. So having proper backups, this is a key for travel. I almost always pack these backups with me. Sometimes I don't use it all because sometimes the things I go to have healthy options, but an example is I used most of it on this trip to Mexico. So now we are going to dive into more the muscle building part, okay? Because here's the thing we need to understand is controlling inflammation, controlling insulin, controlling your macros, and all of those things in your mind is going to help you stay lean. It will help you be able to maintain good muscle mass, and it will help you have a flatter stomach, okay? But if you don't train your muscles, you're not building more muscle. So this is the second component that I'm going to now talk about, right? You can be lean and all of this, but not have great muscle. So we want the other part of it now, right? So in regards to muscle building, you need to strength train. This is without a doubt if you want to have a good physique. So I get asked, well, typically how much should you work out? So from a lifestyle perspective, you can get away with 3 times a week. I say 3 to 4 times per week. When I trained for competition, I was training up to 6 times a week. So you don't have to necessarily do it that way because you may have other things to focus on. I train a lot more dance now. So I keep it strength training about 3 to 4 times for the maintenance and for, building continuous strength. Okay. So you need to make sure you strength train at least 3 to 4 times. If you are only working out 1 time per week or twice a week, and you fill it with a lot of cardio, like Shenika, I know you started putting more in, but that was one of my recommendations to her because when I saw how she worked out, I was like, there's just no way you're going to gain a great amount of muscle with what you do. And I find a lot of menopausal women say, I strength train. Yeah, I do this. And I will tell you one thing, if you do programs where you're holding a 5-pound weight or a 6-pound weight and you're walking and you're doing these like aerobic things, that is not strength training. Okay. That is awesome. You're holding some weights and you're wearing some ankle weights. That is not the bodybuilding methodology of building sculpted muscles. Specifically, you need to train a bodybuilding protocol to build the shape of your muscles, and 3 to 4 times per week is very crucial. Most from what I've seen, and because I observe all my clients and I watch what they do and then I give recommendations, is that a lot of them don't strength train enough, but yet want a really nice body. Okay. You don't need to train 6 times per week. You don't have to even train 5. You could even get away, depending on your physique, with maybe not even 4, maybe 3 times, but you need to create that level of consistency. Okay. Now, in your training specifically, you need to make sure you hit compound moves, okay, with your big movements that work multiple parts of your body and some isolation. But I would say if you're out of time, as my MA clients did with me on the weekend, it's better to do big movements with a lot of combinations within it because it hits a lot more muscles at once. A lot more muscle is activated, which is going to help you with your hormones, which I'll talk about in a bit here. So try to prioritize compound movements, prioritize some HIIT training. So MA clients, if you're on here, my reverse burpees, they got something called the reverse burpees. And it's a compound movement, but it's also a HIIT component. So you need good HIIT training. compound movements, strength training, you need cardio, and you need mobility work. So I talk about these 4 elements you need in your training, which I call the menopausal women training protocol. So I incorporate all 4 of these in my client's program and in my own training so that I can stay as lean and fit as possible. You have to have all 4 to create the best outcome for your body. Okay. And I'm going to talk about a little bit why in a little bit here. Okay. So this is called the menopausal women training protocol. Okay. So, and it doesn't matter if you're in perimenopause or post, because I get asked this. They're like, oh, you say menopausal training protocol, but I'm in peri or I'm in post. It applies to all of you. Okay. So if you want to learn more about the specific methodology of the training protocol, put training protocol there to better maximize your muscle gain. So again, I see a lot of women, they do a workout program, but their workout program is not with the right balance of components in there. So if you want the better balance of components, I want you to put menopausal training protocol or training protocol. Okay. Now let's actually talk a little bit about of the training protocol and what hormones we want to optimize as a woman who wants to sustain a very good physique in your body. Okay. So number 1, you do want to optimize some testosterone in your body. Okay. Yes. We have very little testosterone and we cannot use a whole lot of testosterone because we're women. Okay. But you're going to take what you can. Okay. You take what you can because we want to try to get that muscle mass in our body. Okay. So in order to optimize testosterone, you need to ensure you lift heavier weights. Yes. I'm not saying you need to go crazy, but if you saw some of the, obviously my Monday workout posts, I work hard to lift heavy. I don't stick to small weights. Okay. But of course, if you're a beginner, start small, get the right training, get the right coaching before you do that. But an example would be Tracy. Tracy was in my muscle accelerator class on Saturday or Sunday, and she was picking up her 10 pounds, right? And what did Clarice say? I was like, no, don't pick up those 10 pounds. Go up on your weights. And she was not happy, but she was happy afterwards because her body felt really good. So you got to make sure you optimize testosterone with heavier weights. You want to optimize testosterone with healthy fats. So ensuring, that's why this goes back to macros. You actually need to ensure you eat healthy fats to get your testosterone levels optimized. And of course, the third thing is, really being conscious of sleep. Good quality sleep, getting into your deep sleep is very important. Okay. So the next hormone we want to optimize is growth hormone. Okay. So as a woman, the truth of the matter is your muscle build is more from growth hormone and what's called insulin growth factor than it is from testosterone, just because we just don't produce enough of testosterone. And even if your body produces testosterone, it goes through an aromatization process because it goes through like the estrogen kind of takes it out. So we don't get that much testosterone. So we really need growth hormone, right? And insulin growth factor. So to promote growth hormone, high intensity interval training is very important for growth hormone. As well, to boost growth hormone, you need to ensure you eat lots of lean protein, right? So that's why we see the protein is very important. And of course, the last thing, and coming back to the same thing, to boost growth hormone, you need to ensure you get good quality sleep. Okay. So we want to boost testosterone. We want to boost growth hormone. If you want to learn about how to optimize your, muscle building hormones better, I want you to put muscle building hormones. Okay. So I just mentioned that growth hormone. One of the key things to boosting that is high intensity interval training. Okay. That's why you need that in there, but you need to program it in a certain way so that you don't spike cortisol too high, because too much hit creates high cortisol, and cortisol will be the hormone that deposits belly fat. So you want to have just a little bit in every workout. In every single workout, you want that. So, okay, now so those are the 2 main things for hormones for muscle building. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about supplements. Okay. So as you travel, or just like general supplementation that you want to kind of consider, that usually is very good for keeping your body composition well and being able to train well and all of that, is omega-3s are very crucial. Omega-3s really support your hormones and really helps decrease inflammation in your body. So ensuring you get good omega-3s in your body is very crucial. So that would be a supplement I recommend. And as well, making sure you always prioritize having magnesium and calcium. Calcium you can get through a lot of green leafy vegetables, but sometimes as women age, it might be helpful. So I say calcium meg. I take it's a supplement that's called calcium meg D, which has all three in there. So calcium, magnesium, D is a crucial one because why? Calcium is very important for contraction of your muscles, and magnesium is very important for the relaxation of your muscles. So if you want to like lift heavier, you want to have better muscle function, that is a very crucial part of it. So again, if you want that recommendation, you can ask for that. That is magnesium, calcium meg D, I call it. So you can put it below calcium meg D. And then, of course, the last one I mention this quite a bit is because women, as they age, your gut health becomes more and more important. And your gut health microbiome changes as your estrogen drops. So as your estrogen drops off, your gut kind of goes through a bit of a dysfunction, I guess you can call it. So that's why how many of you sometimes experience like poor digestion or poor motility, or can't go to the bathroom, or you just don't feel good in your stomach? If you have stomach issues, put stomach below, okay? If you have stomach issues, because this is caused a lot of times by inflammation and changing hormones. So I believe that taking a really, really good probiotic is very important for gut regulation and hormone regulation. So again, when I was in Mexico, I brought my little things. The probiotics I take has a little packs. Those of you who are in my BioRevive system should know that. It was perfect. I just brought the little sticks with me and made sure that I have my probiotics with me all the time. Now, I know that there's people who say, well, like, I want to have my probiotics from natural foods like sauerkraut and things like that. Yes, if you make it yourself and somehow you can pack it with you as you go. Typically, though, it's just not as portable. And if you go and buy things from the store, they're typically not the greatest. Most probiotics that I've seen don't have the best kind of combination in what they're using, because they can have a probiotic with inflammatory markers in it, right? So this becomes a problem because you're taking a probiotic and you end up having stomach issues, because people tell me, oh, sometimes I take probiotics and my stomach doesn't feel well. And I think it's not the probiotic. I think it's what's in that probiotic you're taking, So make sure you have a very good probiotic that really regulates your system, your gut health, rebalances all the good bacteria in your gut. Okay. So if you want to learn more about probiotics, or the probiotics I recommend, then put probiotics below. Okay. We're going to kind of wrap up with some final tips on lifestyle fitness. Okay. So these are kind of all general tips, I'll go through. Okay. Is the mindset you have in lifestyle fitness is 80-20. Right? So 80% clean, 20% fun. Okay. So meaning you can still enjoy a little bit. You can still have some fun foods, enjoy a little bit from your holidays, but it's just 80%, or most of the time you want to stick as healthy as possible. Did I enjoy some fun foods when I was in Mexico? Of course I did, but not a lot. I am very aware. So I just have a little bit and then I'm good. And the key here is to make sure we don't over obsess about food. It's more that you're just aware, so you make good choices. If I really want to try something new and it's there, I want to try it, then try it. The mindset is, okay, I can enjoy a little bit, and that's lifestyle fitness. Competition fitness is a different issue altogether, right? Oshone and Rena, we talked about this as a different thing. But when you are just lifestyle, it's good. Enjoy a little bit, right? So you need to have the 80-20 mindset. You need to make sure that you are always moving every day and exercising with lifting heavy, like I said, and resistance training. So not just cardio. Remember, put weight training in. Make sure you get lots of sunlight if you can. If you can't, then make sure you get vitamin D. Still not the same because I could feel the difference when I was in Mexico. But, get lots of sunlight or vitamin D in your system because it affects so much hormones in your body. You want to make sure as well in terms of lifestyle fitness, okay, is find something you're passionate about or you have a goal. Okay. I find anyone who wants to stay healthy and fit long term, you kind of have to have some sort of something you're aiming towards. Not that you have to compete, but you have to aim towards something. So whether you are going to join the 5-day free challenge we have next week, or you are in a program, or, you say you want to accomplish the pull-up by June of next year, or you have to have just some sort of goal. And this is the thing that has helped me stay on track for a long time, for over 12 years, in the fitness industry, is like people burn out or they kind of stop. Like either they compete or they go crazy hard and then they completely fall off. And I think that you need to stay in the game, but you don't have to necessarily compete. Compete is a different game altogether, but it's staying in the game by being mentally focused on something. And that's why people who are in programs do better, because they focus on something. They have this many months to do this. They have this many months to do this. And for me, I set goals for my dance. I set goals for my Olympic lifting. I set goals for my powerlifting. So those of you who may not know, originally I was going to compete in a powerlifting chest bench press competition. I'm not going to do it just yet, just because of some of my goals, but I have different goals just because it keeps me on point and staying focused. So put below, I like all of you because this is almost the second last live, end of 2024. What is a big goal for yourself that you want to focus on for yourself moving forward in the months ahead? So put it below, because setting your intention is part of lifestyle fitness. The people who don't stay lifestyle fitness mean they don't keep it, they don't keep their healthy body, or they don't they might have lost 20 pounds, but then they gain it back, or they might have had muscle or competed at one point, but then they don't really have the physique anymore. That is why I'm bringing this topic up, is that a lot of people can't maintain. In order to maintain is you need good goals and you need to have focus. Okay. So put it below. What are some of your main goals moving forward? Okay. And then another general tip is learn your nutrition. Just like I said above, you will never regret how to eat for your hormones. Okay. So how to eat for your hormones is very crucial. When I say that, it's like eating, how to control inflammation, how to control insulin, how to optimize estrogen, because you can optimize estrogen. You cannot recover all the estrogen in your body, but you can optimize estrogen in your body. As mentioned above, you can eat better to understand how to optimize testosterone and a lot of other things. So if you are wanting to learn how to eat better for your hormones, I want you to put eat for hormones, or eat for my hormones. Okay. Eat for hormones. Learn how to lift properly to truly learn how to build muscles. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Again, Tracy, I'm using you a lot just because we just had a session. When we did the rear delt fly, do you remember? We've been working on her technique of the rear delt fly for a little bit because that's a very tricky move in the positioning. But in the muscle accelerator class, I talked about how you can learn to isolate it better, and where by a fraction of an inch of where she moved her shoulder, she could finally feel that muscle. And I think, Tracy, you remember that, where you're, just a little bit more of this kind of position, and I felt it. And I said, yes, because I said, when it comes to building muscle and the shape of the muscle, you have to learn how to build, you have to learn how to lift properly at the right angles. And so This is another thing I really want to emphasize is a lot of women tell me they want to build muscle and they go to the gym and they work out, but they never really build shape. And shape requires proper angles of how you lift. That is an art in bodybuilding, right? So if you are someone who's like, I need to have better shape in the muscle line and how I look, including that like small waist. Also, Tracy, in our workout, you remember when we did those jump rows and then I did the single one, I talked about where it hit on the back differently. So how you do rows, you can hit the upper back or you can hit the line going down your back, which goes to your small waist, right? The lower, so the latissimus dorsi, that is the key. A lot of women don't do this. They just go and get a program and they just roll. They just do rows or do certain things, but they never really sculpt. The angle of how you position things is very important, right? So if you want to learn better muscle building technique, I want you to put muscle building technique, okay? And again, this is up to your goal. Okay, again, what does lifestyle fitness mean to you? If you mean just generally lift some weights and you generally look just a little bit more toned, cool. But if your goal is to not compete, but actually have more sculpted lines, that does require you to have proper muscle building technique. Okay, so put muscle building technique below if that is what you want. Again, it's your goal for what you want your lifestyle fitness to look like. Okay, so you guys have a goal like that. So if those of you who want more sculpted muscles, not compete, but just be more shape, like more shape to your body, then muscle building technique is the key. Okay, and the final thing we're just going to say here is watch your mindset. The very last thing I'll say is the mindset of how you control your stress, right? So without knowing it, for a lot of people, they are aware of their workouts, they're aware of the macros or food, but they're not aware of the way they think, right? If you get angry easily, do you have road rage? I remember, she's not on the slide right now, but Jessica used to struggle with road rage, and I'm like, that spikes your cortisol every single day if you struggle with road rage, right? So you want to make sure that you're controlling stress because we want as little cortisol spike as possible. The more cortisol you spike in your system, the more fat you'll retain, the poorer your hormone signals, the more belly fat you'll have. So I always say control what you can control and let go of what you can't control, right? This is a mindset, is to be healthy here. This third component, even though I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, I would say is more important than people realize. When people struggle with here or they're angry, they're anxious a lot, they just don't control a lot of the responses, they tend to really struggle with long-term wellness in their body. Like your wellness in your body is three things. It's your nutrition, it's your workouts, and it's your mindset, right? So if you struggle with mindset, I want you to put mindset there because I've done a few mindset lives, but one thing I will say is that the mindset you need to have for lifestyle fitness is not perfection, okay? Expect imperfection, okay? But it's not perfection you want, it's consistency you want, okay? So put that down for yourself. It's not perfection you want, it's consistency you want. You're not going to be perfect in a lifestyle fitness and even as a competitor, but the room for error as a competitor is very little. For lifestyle fitness, you can have a little bit more room for error. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. Okay. And consistency comes from a few things, but two things I'm going to name. The two things is consistency comes from structure systems. Okay. Structure systems, meaning you get some sort of system, some sort of tracking, some sort of accountability in there that keeps you consistent. I keep myself around coaches a lot. If you guys followed me, you'll know I have a drumming coach. I have an Olympic coach. I have a powerlifting coach. I have a life mentor. I have a business coach. I have I said dance coach, I think. Dance coaches. I take a lot of lessons, but I always surround myself with people who will help me be better. So for those of you who are listening, and if you struggle with staying healthy, fit long term, I would really encourage you to try to surround yourself with the structure systems and the accountability as much as you can, because you are going to see yourself thrive a lot more. Like the ladies in the Bio Revive system, I know you guys love Sherry. She's an amazing coach in there. Thayer, who's an FFF with Oshone, loves Oshone. Oshone, she sends me messages about you. I have to still send it to you. She says Oshone is an amazing coach. It's just the fact of having systems and a coach there really makes a massive difference. Like I said, this was a more of a practical live. Those are all the things I want you to think about in regards to maintaining overall health long term. Hopefully you found that helpful, and please stay tuned for the next week's live. We have something very special as our end of the year thing that we're doing. So make sure you keep checking back with our community on that for our final live of the year next week, okay? It was a pleasure talking to all of you, give you confettis, and hopefully you found that helpful and you enjoyed learning some of my more practical tips, less sciencey this time, but more practical. And I will see all of you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fierce and Fit Mentor podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If something in this episode resonated with you, please leave a review or share it with a friend who'd love it too. Your support means the world and helps us reach more amazing women like you. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fit, and let's keep building your most powerful self.